Welcome to a technical assistance training video on reporting career and training services by the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education for program year 2018-2019. All states and each WIOA core partner are required to submit career and training services in the annual statewide performance report. These reports are made available to the public. The AFLA Title II reports are available at the link to the National Reporting System at the bottom of this slide. Note that the cost for career services, pointed to by the red arrow, is reported for the total number of participants served across the state. The federal guidance emphasizes that all WIOA clients should be receiving career services, not only clients that are served in one-stop centers. Training services costs are reported separately on the second line. The Virginia Department of Education released a director's memo on April 17, 2018, providing guidance on costs that could be considered as reportable career and training services. This video recording supplements that guidance. Please keep the written guidance handy as you complete the requested expenditure report. And as a reminder, only federal dollars are reported on this form, not state funds, and only instructional funds, no administrative funds, are reported as career and training services. The Virginia guidance takes as its base the federal guidance, OCTAE Program Memo 17.2, specifically the section on career and training services, which is covered on pages 34 through 37, and the attachment 7, Table C, on page 61, which presents allowable costs. This slide and Table 1 in the Virginia guidance replicates the federal guidance in the left column. As you can see, the federal guidance provides 5 types of career services plus 1 training service. In working with a group of program managers, Virginia created a crosswalk of services that combines 4 of the federal services into 2 categories that are often provided simultaneously in our programs. For example, outreach, intake, and orientation was combined with initial assessment because program managers described that these activities often happen in the same contact with students. Similarly, referral and provision of information were combined into a single category. It's worth noting that the 5th federal service, the 3rd category for Virginia reporting, includes information about supportive services or assistance, naming programs that are not necessarily WIOA related, such as CHIP, SNAP, and TANF. The inclusion of these services indicate the importance the federal programs place on helping WIOA job seekers and students achieve economic stability as part of their involvement with our services. If programs have not been reaching out to community partners or WIOA partners to provide this kind of information for students, they should begin to do so and document any expenses associated with information dissemination and referrals. Note that as Medicaid expansion will be rolled out in Virginia beginning January 1, 2019, holding information sessions, providing written information, and coordinating with community partners to inform students will be an important role for community adult education programs. Next, let's hear from Amy Judd, Program Manager at the Northern Shenandoah Valley Adult Education Program at Lord Fairfax Community College. She'll describe her planning for calculating and reporting the outreach, intake, and assessment category. It's great to have a real-life example.
So in looking at the first category, which is outreach, intake, and initial assessment, we'll go through a sample hypothetical situation somewhat similar to what I'm accustomed to and go through each of the possibilities in this slide. All of us are responsible for assessing and enrolling our students in a very specific way with the ASPD and with our TABE, CASAS assessments. Many of us do it differently. Some will have instructors handling this. Some might have a person on staff who does nothing but assess, and that might vary from site to site. So we're going to give you 2 examples, one with an instructor and one with an assessor. We have, say, instructors who spend 10 to 12% of their time on initial intake and assessment. We say initial, that means the pre-test that is given to the students. If we are looking at an instructor line item in our budget where we think we're going to spend $97,000 on instructors, we would, in Object Code 1000, allocate 10 to 12% for that person. In this example, we've used 10% because it's a nice, easy, round number, which equals $9,700 of that total $97,000. In the Object Code 2000, where we record our benefits, in this case, we would count 10% of our FICA cost. So FICA on $97,000 is approximately $7,421. If we multiply that by 10%, that would be $742. That would be our cost spent with instructors at satellite sites on initial intake and assessment. In the situation where you have a standalone assessor, a person who does nothing but handle intake and assessment, their entire hourly wage would be counted. So in the second example here in bold where it says assessor/test, the hourly wages, say, for that person is $1,800 for whatever period of time. The FICA under Object Code 2000 for $1,800 happens to be $138. So that's what you would count for career services costs for outreach, intake, and assessment on your payroll. Now, for outreach, you may, in Object Code 3000, be purchasing something to display your services. In my region, we frequently use a bus sign that's on the side and back of a bus, and we split that cost between our AFLA funding and our Race to GED funding. In this case, the AFLA portion of that is $1,500. The Race to GED would also be $1,500, but remember, we're only counting federal funds here. Race to GED is a state lottery fund, so that portion of the purchase would not be counted. We'll just count the $1,500 for AFLA. Oftentimes here where I work, we have our print services department print all kinds of flyers and nice calendars that are sent out to our students to advertise our class sessions, our enrollment sessions. And let's just say the cost of all those flyers is $350. That is something that we would want to count towards the career services costs, and that is in Object Code 4000. Oftentimes those print services items are mailed out to students or prospective students and partners. Let's say we have 300 metered letters that are run through our print services mailing department. At 47 cents per mailing times 300, that is $141 to be counted towards this category. Now, many of us right now are making lots of purchases of assessment materials, particularly with changes that are coming with the TABE test. We would count our test booklets, our answer sheets, any online licenses for online testing, as long as they're being spent with federal funds. In this example, we calculated $3,400 for TABE test booklets, $2,900 for online licenses, and $6,400 for CASAS test booklets. All of those items are counted towards initial intake and assessment costs under career services, outreach, intake, and assessment.
Calculating training costs are slightly different, and these costs will not be divided by the total number of students served across the state. Rather, training only refers to students enrolled in a compliant, federally funded, integrated education and training program. Because career and training services expenses are only reported for federal dollars, plugged-in Virginia state-funded program costs would not be reported, although, of course, we think of them as IET programs. Under WIOA, Title II providers are expected to establish partnerships with occupational training providers to deliver IET whenever possible. Title II funds may be used to support the following costs in support of IET programs: student tuition, and we're calling it tuition, whether the training is offered at an institution of higher education or other qualified training provider; participant cost supports, such as student or activity fees; materials, supplies, and equipment used for instruction; and procured training instructor costs. Note that Title II funds may not be used to purchase credential assessments. If the costs are shared with a partner program, which is what we're hoping, only the AFLA share of the costs are reported by the adult education programs. You would see the cost supported by the partner program reported on their share of the cost on their statewide performance report. So during the 2018-2019 program year, we'd like to ask you to use the Career and Training Services expense form to report actual expenditures by category. This form will be due quarterly on the same schedule as match and program income reports. And the state will then aggregate that amount of career services and training services in the annual data report to the Federal Department of Education, which is due October 1 of each year. Any questions that you have, please direct them to oael@doe.virginia.gov.